Today we're going to continue our nut and bolt. And first we're going to look at we're going to use some solid tools. And we're going to talk about the concept of something being solid. So I have my threaded rod. I have three kind of boxes, and we're going to see if they are solid. So check it out. All of them have been grouped. So if I click on this box and click on entity, it's going to tell me it's a solid group. So it's a box that has stuff all the way around it. So it has sides on all sides. If I click on this guy, it'll say it's a group, but it won't say that it's solid because obviously I'm missing a side right here. It doesn't have a front to it. So something to be solid has to be kind of enclosed the whole way. If I click on the last one, it still tells me it's a group, even though when I go around on it, it seems like all the edges are there, all the way around, or all the sides rather. But if I go in closely and look at it, if I look at it now, I'm going to go click away from it. I can see that's like this line sticking up. So that prevents it, the single line prevents it from being a solid. So to fix that, for example, to edit a group, I can just double click on it to put it in edit mode. So I go click, click. My group is in edit mode. Now I can take my eraser tool. I can erase this line right here, and then I just click outside of it. So now if I go in and click on it and get my entity, I can see now it's a solid group. So all the threaded rods that you need to be solid. So let's go and see what I have over here. So I'll go over to my two threaded rods. So my first one is a solid, which is what I want. The second one is just a group. And typically what happens to your threaded rods is on the very top of it, the spiral lines that went up have little lines that come up. So you can see at the very top, I have that extra line that prevents it from being a solid. So again, I can just go click, click, put it in edit mode. And then I go erase it. And then I just click outside of it. Now if I click on it, solid group. So before you do this, you got to make sure that your rod or your threaded rod here is a solid group. So click on the entity right here and make sure it says solid group. Otherwise, the next tools that we're going to use will not work for you. All right. So now that I know that it is a solid group, I'm going to turn this into a bolt. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to the top of it and I'm just going to put a 6-sided polygon on it. So let's see if I can get to the top. Bam. And now I'm going to grab my polygon tool. I'm going to go to the middle of it as best that I can. Bam. And I'm going to pull it out. So it looks about, right for a nut and bolt. Maybe a little bit smaller. You can play with it. You can always scale it later on. And I'm going to go click. So it's right there right now. If you don't have 6 sides on it, you would go 6S for 6 side, and that would give it 6 sides. So now that I have that, I'm going to bring it up a little bit. So this, it's not part of the group. It's on top of the group. And then we just go back to see what it looks like. Maybe a little bit taller, like a baller. There we go. Bam. So here's my nut right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the top a group also. So I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to make group. Bam. So now that I have that, I have this group, I have that group. And again, if I do entity on it, entity info, a solid group for the top, a solid group for the bottom. Otherwise, our next tools will not work. So now that this is a group, I'm going to move it down, because what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to use a tool that subtracts the rod from the top to make it a threaded nut. So I'm going to take a copy of it and move it down. So hold the control key and I move it straight down blue axis. See if I can find blue axis. I think that looks like blue axis. There we go. Bam. So now I have a blue axis. So I'm going to use a kind of a subtract tool, but it's really a trim tool. So if I look over here, I have some solid tools. I have a two little outer shell will join all these guys as an outer shell. This guy, the union tool, will join both the outer shell and what's inside of it. I have a subtract tool, but the subtract tool will remove one of the things. And then I have a trim tool that'll subtract two things but leave them both. So before I start, I'm going to select my rod right here because I want to subtract the rod from the nut right here. Okay, so I go in, I click on the trim tool, and it's going to be 2 because I already have one selected. Bam. And then as I move that out, whoop, I moved the wrong thing out. I'm just going to go Control Z. I'm going to select this guy. And as I move that out now, bam, you can see that it basically subtracted the threads of what was overlapping for that. So now I have basically a nut that matches the threads on my bolt right here. All right, so right now my bolt is in two pieces. I have the top and I have the bottom. So I want to make it one piece. So I could really just select it and go make group. That would make basically a group of two group. I could explode this part of it and then explode that part of it. So nothing was grouped and then select it all and make it a group. Or I can go into my solid tools and I can either use the outer shell or union. Union picks what's inside of it also. So I'm going to do union. So I click on this guy. I have this guy selected. I want that guy selected. And now this guy became one thing. So it made these two a union. Now it's one thing. So now I have a bolt and a matching nut. Very cool. So yeah, that was a bolt and a nut part 2.